Welcome back to Distracted Nerd, where today we are talking Pet Sematary 2. And the main theme for these movies is sometimes dead is better. And what an apt saying for the Pet Sematary franchise. Just let it die already. They've tried some stuff, and it's just not working. And while the original Pet Sematary was not perfect, it was still a fun movie and overall pretty iconic. Lots of people have seen it. They know how disgustingly terrifying Zelda is. But as was proven with Pet Sematary Bloodlines, the world of Pet Sematary is just not that interesting. Like, what was captivating about the first story was the Creed family and their relationship with Judd and the depictions of absolute grief, but without the compelling human element, this is just a zombie story. But having said that, I didn't hate this movie. Some stuff works, and there is a decent movie somewhere in there. And it should be noted that, like most sequels to Stephen King movies, the man himself asked for his name to be removed and then publicly shit all over it. So, should be a good time. Pet Sematary 2 begins on a movie set, and we meet movie star Renee Hollow and her son Jeff, played by Edward Furlong, who has enough goodwill stored up from Terminator 2 that he gets a pass for the rest of his life. And Edward put that goodwill to the test on his very next movie, and that just seems like such an Edward Furlong thing to do. Pushing people's buttons and testing boundaries. But seriously, he was so good in Terminator 2, I'm not even gonna make fun of the Crow Wicked Prayer.
Are you an angel? Are you another devil?
Maybe both.
I am not going to make fun of the Crow Wicked Prayer. And in a Final Destination level of circumstances, that actually, it's not as Rube Goldberg-esque as Final Destination. It's really just horrible safety standards on this soaking wet set when a generator gets tipped over and electrocutes Renee while Jeff watches. Was Renee's movie directed by John Landis? So Jeff's father and Renee's ex-husband Chase moves Jess back to Ludlow, Maine to live in Renee's childhood home. And Ludlow has some of the most unprofessional movers I've ever seen.
We got 6 of these big wardrobe boxes here. You sure you want them all in the attic?
Yeah, you got a lot of boxes in there. Whole truck full of them. You mind if we just set them in the yard? They're kind of heavy. We could place them in the road, too. That would help slow down some of these wrinkle trucks there. They go up and down this road all day.
Who goes up here in the attic? Say what, John? Oh, look out! Look out!
Oh my God. I can't imagine the Mayflower Trucking Company loved how they were represented in this movie. We also meet their new housekeeper, Marjorie Hargrove. And if you thought the local moving company sucked, the local Molly Maids is even worse.
This is gorgeous. This is what she wore at the Emmys, isn't it?
Hey, don't touch his stuff.
Some helpful advice to any aspiring housekeepers. Don't pick through the fragile reminders of your boss's deceased ex-wife. That should be in the training video that you watch. So Chase is a veterinarian and he begins setting up his new vet clinic, and Jeff finds a litter of kittens.
You clean up these old kennels and, she's yours.
Jeff, kittens are free basically everywhere. This is a shit deal. And while they're setting up, the local sheriff Gus Gilbert shows up with his son Drew to have Drew's dog Zowie looked at. And Gus is played by Clancy Brown, and he is hands down the best part of this whole movie.
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, your mother and I used to be sweethearts?
You know, there really is no good time to shoehorn the fact that you used to bang someone's mom into a conversation. Try it, it's hard. Jeff starts at his new school the next day, and this school is ruled with an iron fist by resident bully Clyde Parker, played by Jared Rushton, and whatever happened to this kid? He was great in everything, and then he just kind of disappeared. And you know, you don't see too many bullies with the confidence to rock a big-ass scarf. But I guess this is probably a decent representation of what a bully would look like in New England in the fall. Oh yeah, it's a wicked pisser of an autumn we're having this year. You gotta wear a scarf, otherwise you'll catch a nasty Maine cold. I found this scarf in the middle of the road.
Hey, what's Hollywood like?
Excuse me, in the back. Would you settle down, please?
Oh, no, please leave the kitten alone, Clyde, please. So class is dismissed and, damn it, Clyde. I don't want to see a kitten get smushed or broken in half or fed to a dog or whatever the hell weird idea a Maine bully has for it.
Yeah? Yeah, what's the cat's name, Junior? Tiger. Tiger. Do you think that's kind of a pussy name?
Tigers are some of the most badass creatures on Earth. One swipe from a tiger's paw could kill a human being. Why don't you go up to a tiger and call him the P word? See how that works out for you, Clyde.
Can I hold her?
Jeff and the audience in general would prefer if you didn't. Clyde then takes off on his bike with the kitten, and I'm not a fan of this movie so far. Yeah, that's a fun little callback. Can't really enjoy it because I'm too nervous. about what this movie is going to make me watch The Neighbor from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids due to a helpless kitten. So Jeff catches up to Clyde and the gang at the base of the path leading to the pet cemetery.
She's trying to get away, and her head got caught in the spokes.
Yeah, pretty gross.
That's leftovers back there in the pet cemetery. You heard about the Creed murders yet?
Hey, you heard about the place where the dead rise?
Oh, thank God. Okay, the cat's still alive. Cat's still alive.
How was school today?
It sucked.
The first day of school is always the hardest.
You're not my mother.
Oh, pump the brakes, Jeff. She wasn't trying to be your mother. It wasn't even a motherly statement. Barely qualified as a statement. That night, Zowie tries to get into the rabbit pen, and Gus runs out and shoots him dead. I know it's Pet Cemetery and animals dying are part of it, but man. And so Drew recruits Jeff to help him bury Zowie at the pet cemetery.
If I bury Zowie there, and it works, he'll come back.
I know your dog died, but get a grip, man. You're freaking me out.
I don't know that I would react this strongly if I was in Jeff's position. I'd probably be more like, come on, man, it's so far, and the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles is about to start. And so in the universe of Pet Cemetery, the legend behind the Micmac burial ground is pretty well known. And so even if most people think it's just a ghost story, it's still an open secret, and this burial ground is not as inaccessible as people make it seem. Like an 80-year-old man got there with no problems. So you would think that every kid would be trying to bury their dead pets up there, and then eventually try it with a dead family member, but it really doesn't happen that often. Like the Creed incident almost broke this town, but that was evidently the first time it had happened since like the 40s. And like rumors of shit in a small town are always being investigated by the local children at least. Hell, in my town growing up, there was a rumor that there was a freestanding door that would appear in the middle of the woods at midnight, and it would take you into the past. And like every kid I know tried to find that damn thing. And that is just as, if not more stupid than a burial site that brings back the dead. This town should be riddled with zombies. So they bury Zowie and go back home, and that night Zowie comes back, but he's mean as hell. And Chase examines Zowie, but becomes suspicious when the gunshot wound doesn't heal, and he's suspicious by the fact that he can't find a heartbeat. So Chase sends a sample of Zowie's blood to a lab, and it turns out that Zowie's cells have completely deteriorated and are no different from those of a dead dog. And the former vet in town had only seen this one other time, and that was with a blood sample from Lewis Creed's cat. So again, it's really only happened 2 times since the time when Judd was a kid. Jeff and Drew go to the pet cemetery on Halloween because it's a local teen hangout spot. And when Gus finds out that Drew's mother allowed him to go despite being grounded, he rushes to the pet cemetery and breaks up the party by beating the shit out of Drew. But then Zowie shows up and breaks up the after party by ripping out Gus's throat. So the boys drag Gus to the pet cemetery and bury him. And naturally, Gus comes back to life, shows up, and immediately rapes Drew's mother. This movie, man.
It's like we're family. A real family.
Oh, come on, Drew. It's a small house. You heard what unholy deeds transpired in your parents' bedroom, bud. Clyde runs Jeff off the road and is going to smash his face into a spinning bike tire when Gus shows up, tells Jeff to leave, and then messes with Clyde with his own dirt bike. Ah, scarves. The downfall of every bully since the beginning of time. And Drew witnesses Clyde's murder and Gus chases him back to the house. It's always amazing how windows never seem to want to open in horror movies. Give me 30 seconds, I'll open up every window in my house with zero issue. I guess I'm just built different. Drew makes it outside just as his mom pulls up, and Gus chases after them and runs them into the path of a truck. And Gus then returns to Clyde's body and takes him to the pet cemetery.
I feel so bad for Jeff. How's he taking it?
I don't know, housekeeper. Is my laundry folded? It's also 10 at night. You can go home. Or are you a live-in housekeeper? I don't know. We never established that on your hire date. And Jeff is in the attic preparing his mother's things for her return, and he tells Chase about the pet cemetery and how they brought Zowie and Gus back and how he's going to do the same for his mother. Just then, Chase gets a call from the cemetery that someone stole his wife's body. Jeff, your previous statements point to you being the prime suspect, buddy. Got anything you want to say?
Can you stay here with Jeff while I take care of this? Don't let him leave this house.
I don't think she can even leave the house. We learn that Marjorie is just as good a babysitter as she is a housekeeper, and Jeff is able to sneak out and makes his way to the pet cemetery and buries his mother. Marjorie wakes up and finds Jeff gone, and does what any responsible babysitter does in that situation. Lovingly ogles, and then tries on a dead woman's clothes. Like, Marjorie isn't possessed or undead or anything. She's just weird. Like, Jeff is out right now, burying his deceased mother to bring her back to life, and that is nowhere near as weird as what Marjorie is up to. And Renee shows shows up and murders her, but Marjorie may have been a serial killer, so this might be a good thing. Kind of like an undead Dexter. And Jeff shows up and hugs his dead mother, and Chase arrives home and yells at Jeff to get away from her. And then zombie Clyde shows up, and after knocking Chase out, tries to kill Jeff with an ice skate. And Clyde is only the second person to ever take off a skate and try to stab somebody with it. And double bonus points for whoever gets that reference. Renee then sets the house on fire, and Jeff kills Clyde and drags Chase out as Renee burns. And if I have to say something good about this movie, the acting overall is light years ahead of the first movie, which is insane for a mid-budget horror sequel that no one asked for. And now Stephen King was not allowed on the set for Pet Sematary 2, but my producer did find an audio recording of Stephen King on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno talking about Pet Sematary 2. And we don't have the video because this episode was actually banned, as it wasn't noticed until the original airing, but Stephen King's penis was sticking out of his zipper for the entire interview. Enjoy!
Yeah, welcome back to the program. We're interviewing famed author Stephen King. So Stephen, is Pet Sematary 2 come out? Did you see this? Did you hear about this? Did they get your input on that, or do you have any writing credit for it?
Yeah. Jay, I had nothing to do with that. I tried to give them some spooky ideas, a master of horror and all, and I suggested maybe bury a chinchilla or, some sort of marmot in the Pet Cemetery. Oh, just thinking about it gives me goose pimples. Oh, ooh, or a goose. Can you imagine an undead goose? A goose is already scary, but now he's come back to life. That's just terrifying. In the end, they didn't go with any of them. I did see it, though, and Pet Sematary 2, it's about as terrible a movie as Collision Course. I'm just yanking your taint hair, Jay.
Okay, well, yeah. Speaking of a collision course, how about I get in my 57 Buick Roadmaster and chart a collision course with your f***ing head, you son of a bitch?
Jay, you're choking me.
Someone call security! Oh my God, stop, Jay Leno, you're killing him! Why is Stephen King's dick flopping around?